Super sexy Swiss, cardiofrenetic, ambulance,
Strawberry. Shout out to everyone saying shout out to something at the same time, talking over everyone else.
I don't know why you think
shout out to the Jimmy Jams.
That's very rude.
Shout out to Cardboard Box. Shout out to West Coast, sponsor us. Shout out to East Coast, sponsor West Coast. West Coast then sponsor us with all the money. Shout out to the South, sponsor East Coast. East Coast sponsor West Coast.
No, I'm putting my foot down
West
here.
Coast sponsor us.
Fuck
shout out to
I
the
don't want their
Mexican
help.
drug lords. Sponsor the South. South sponsor East Coast. East Coast sponsor West Coast.
Also,
West Coast
don't
sponsor
hit
us.
our friend.
Shout out to Putin. Putin sponsor Mexican drug lords. Mexican
Putin
drug lords
Ritz.
sponsor the South. The South sponsor the East Coast. East Coast sponsor West Coast. West Coast sponsor us. Shout out to Canadian hockey team. Sponsor Putin. Putin sponsor Mexican drug lords. Mexican drug lords sponsor the South. The South sponsor the East Coast. East Coast sponsor West Coast. West Coast sponsor us. Shout out to Atlantic Ocean. Sponsor Canadian hockey team. Canadian hockey team sponsor Putin. Putin sponsor Mexican drug lords. Mexican drug lords sponsor the South. South sponsor East Coast. East Coast sponsor West Coast. West Coast sponsor us.
Shout out to Bill Grunkle's Broken Glass Warehouse.
Bill Grunkle's Broken Glass Warehouse, sponsored by the Atlantic Ocean. Sponsor Canadian hockey team. Sponsor Putin. Sponsor Mexican drug lords. Sponsor the South. Sponsor the East Coast. Sponsor West Coast. Sponsor us.
Sponsor Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Sponsor Bill Nye Science Guy. Sponsor Grunkle's Glass Emporium.
Broken Glass.
Broken Glass Emporium. Sponsored by the Atlantic Ocean. Sponsor Canadian hockey team. Sponsor Putin. Sponsor Mexican drug lords. Sponsor the South, East Coast, West Coast. Us.
Oh my god, I was so afraid.
Sponsor the Hitler Youth.
Hitler Youth. Sponsor. What did you say last year? When I don't say it, I can't remember it. What did you say?
Bill Nye was.
Bill
Yeah,
Nye.
Hitler Youth. Sponsor Bill Nye the Science Guy. Sponsor
Bill Grunkle's Broken Glass
Emporium.
Warehouse.
Sponsor the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Sponsor Canadian hockey team. Sponsor Putin. Sponsor Mexican drug lord. South, East Coast, West Coast, us. Richard, you got one?
Cesarean section.
I can't think of one. I think
sections. Then you
what?
okay, if you come up with it, you have to say it.
Cesarean section sponsor the Hitler Youth, who sponsor Bill Nye, who sponsor the
Rob.
Bill Grunkle's Broken Glass Emporium.
Sponsor bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Sponsor Canadian hockey team. Sponsor Putin. Sponsor Mexican drug lords. South, East Coast, West Coast, us.
My raging farts excreting from my ass. Sponsored the.
You had to take it there, didn't you?
Alright. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of us just looking at the Ouya controller parent screen.